Hey all, your OS reviews. In this video, we're taking a quick look at the TOZO HT2. These are another pair of budget active noise canceling wireless Bluetooth headphones that go for under 50 bucks. And in our other video, we recently checked out the Soundpeats Space, which are, I think, in the same category overall of being relatively affordable ANC headphones, although these ones are slightly more at around 70 bucks. So this is going to be even more cost effective, and it touts very similar functionality. Aside from noise cancellation, there's also this high-res audio certification there, but just like with the Soundpeats Space, you don't get that using the wireless Bluetooth mode. There is no high-end Bluetooth codec chip such as aptX lossless or LDAC, which is expected for something more on the affordable range, but rather you get the high-res certification if you're using it in the wired mode with a 3.5mm headphone jack. That being said, just like the Soundpeats Space, these also come with an optional companion app from TOZO, compatible with both iOS and Android, that you can use to further customize the EQ profile. And one spec that surprised me would be the frequency range of the 40mm dynamic driver. It claims to offer 16Hz to 45,000Hz, which is even wider than the already pretty good 20 to 20,000 Hz range on the Soundpeats Space. And so if you happen to be listening to tracks which either have extremely low bass or really high treble notes, you should be able to provide a little bit more of a comfortable listening experience. They have 60 hours of rated playback time, although with active noise cancellation turned on, it's a little bit closer to 40 hours or so, using a 500 milliamp hour capacity battery, which is one spec that is a little bit lower compared to the Soundpeats Space that have a 1000 milliamp hour capacity pack. And inside of the box, you will find, aside from the headphones themselves, a USB Type-C charging cable, as well as a 3.5mm to 3.5mm cable if you're using it in the wired mode. Interestingly, the cable's color is kind of this golden shade as opposed to being just white or black. It shows a little bit more attention to detail. However, it's not completely coordinated with the color of the headphones themselves. Easy to fold inwards for transportation and travel purposes, although there is no case or pouch included in the box this time, and it is constructed out of a fusion of plastics here on the bottom, but doesn't feel too cheap or hollow, so it has a pretty reassuring overall feeling to it as you're handling, doesn't really creak or cringe. And then there is some memory foam padding on the very top of the headband, as well as on the cushions themselves, which are actually quite generous. It's pretty thick and is indeed super soft, so when you're wearing these, they do feel very comfortable and weigh in at around 260 grams. Again, very similar to the Soundpeats Space, so even for around 6 hours or so of continuous music listening, I still found them to be pretty comfortable and relatively light for design in this category, that is. Didn't accumulate too much heat buildup on the cushions either, so I wasn't really sweating while wearing them. And the headbands themselves are also adjustable in terms of length, depending on your head size. And then at the very bottom here, we have a dedicated volume rocker, as well as a power key that you can also use to play and pause your music once you are paired with your phone. There is the standard 3.5mm headphone jack, USB Type-C for charging, and also the active noise cancellation key that you can also use to cycle into an ambient transparency mode to hear what's going on around you, magnifying the external noise to have a conversation without removing the headphones, for example, and nothing else on the other side, actually. And here's just a quick size comparison with the aforementioned Soundpeats Space next to them side by side. Again, both of these have the same 40mm size dynamic drivers, so that part really isn't any different. The oversized Soundpeats logo maybe is a little bit more flashy looking, slightly more stylized compared to the TOZOs being just a bit more subdued, but still looks, I think, quite clean and attractive, especially with the colors that you can pick between. Closer look at the companion app you can pair to the headphones after opening it up and turning on Bluetooth as well as location services. Now on here, we're able to locate the battery percentage remaining on the headphones, as well as take a look at some of the ANC as well as transparency audio profiles. There's also a wind reduction mode, in addition to a leisure mode and also a adaptive mode. This is a feature I really was not expecting to find on such a low-cost pair of ANC headphones. Typically on flagship models from brands like Soundcore by Anker, you have to pay at least $100 to $200 for a model that has adaptive ANC. So basically it's using the microphones to intelligently switch between the intensity of the noise cancellation levels based on your surroundings dynamically. One other slight quirk, as much as I really love the advanced functionality on the profiles here, is you do have to turn the headphones on, including Bluetooth, before you can turn on or off active noise cancellation. That is one advantage on the SoundPeat Space, where even if the headphones and Bluetooth are technically off, you can still turn on the noise cancellation. For example, if you're trying to sleep without listening to music, just by blocking out some noise. So it would be even better if the ANC can be turned on independently, but it is what it is and still works well enough. The gear icon also shows you if there's any firmware updates that can improve on the headphone stability, as well as the second tab over goes into EQ. Tapping on more sound effects will give you some options, including bass boosted, bass reduce, classical, dance, hip-hop, original, pop, R&B, vocal, treble, reduce, and enhance. So depending on the genre that you're listening to, you're able to, again, tweak the sound profile accordingly. In addition, you can also change the frequency sliders yourself to get you an even more granular level of control based on what you enjoy. That being said, there is no kind of hearing test that does this automatically for you, which is a function found on more, again, expensive and flagship grade headphones that we have seen in the past. It can detect, again, if you are not able to discern maybe certain frequencies and bump up the neighboring ones automatically, but on here you do have to do a bit of that work yourself using the sliders. But for the most part, the EQ does work as intended. And it's also pretty cool how on all the preset profiles, you can even see the frequency range and the spectrum that they have tuned it to, including bass minus, so you can tell that the lower end frequencies are slightly repressed compared to bass enhanced. It should kind of look the opposite direction there. The TOZO app also has a Explore tab, which gives you some playlists of mostly nature-related sounds, things like soothing waterfall, wind noise, and this helps you just relax, calm down, or fall asleep if you're taking a nap. Last but not least, the Products and Community tab mostly serves as just kind of a bulletin board where they're sharing news about their new releases, and if there are any occasional questions and updates, it gets posted in kind of a forum view under the community section as well. But primarily, you'll be using, I think, the Home tab to change between either EQ or the active noise cancellation profiles. And now moving into audio quality and performance, gotta say that the 40mm dynamic drivers offers a pretty good audio reproduction when you're listening to tracks like pop as well as EDM, R&B. I was actually finding it to be sufficient in terms of details coming out of these single driver units. And the volume level is also getting plenty loud. At the same time, if you're listening to a drum beat, you can still feel that kick in the lower end as well. So compared to TWS wireless buds, which again have much smaller drivers at the end of the day, these are going to be a little bit more impactful. At the same time, while listening to some acoustic, classical tracks, I was still able to hear details in the trebles as well as vocals and nuances there. And when doing a blind listening test with the SoundPeat Space, I actually found it very hard to discern the two apart, which is to say this one definitely punches above its weight when it comes to audio quality. I've definitely tried headphones which are 2 or maybe even 3 times the price out of wireless headphones that offer very similar sound reproduction. So again, sufficient levels of detail, volume, and richness that kind of sucks you into the tracks that you're listening to, despite using standard Bluetooth codecs. That being said, there isn't really a low latency mode on top of that per se for things like gaming, which is a function that we did find on the SoundPeat Space. But like I said before, on these style of headphones, because the left and right sides are already connected by a wire, I personally found that the latency was never too problematic to begin with compared to TWS that tends to be a bit more tricky with extra wireless communication going on. So in general, you should be perfectly fine on these with even some video consumption. I wouldn't say that the enhanced frequency range necessarily translates to a night and day difference though, compared to the 20 to 20,000 hertz range of the SoundPeat Space, unless you are extremely nitpicky and you're just comparing them side by side directly. Otherwise, it's very subtle, but still, these offer excellent audio quality, one of the best, in fact, I'd say, for a $50 pair of headphones I've tried out. Now, when it comes to areas including active noise cancellation, it was also really impressive. In fact, I think the extra profiles and modes on here do give it a slight edge up compared to the SoundPeat Space. But in any case, for things like engine sounds as well as fan noises, if you're sitting down near a computer, they get almost completely repressed very easily, especially with the larger cushion design. A portion of the noise gets isolated already. And so that is more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the TOZOs. This is the HT2 active noise cancellation headphones. Like some of their products we've checked out in the past, I have to say this is another excellent value option to consider because for sub $50 you get a model with a lot of adjustable colors. The build quality is honestly quite good for what you're paying for, very comfortable to wear, as well as offering solid sound quality. The only minor quirks would be being able to turn on ANC independent of Bluetooth, that would be neat if you're just, again, sleeping or napping, as well as, again, battery life being very good, but definitely a touch shorter than the Soundpeats Space, but at the same time, the fact that these are even lower cost but have a step up in terms of frequency reproduction is also really impressive to see. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below. That has been the excellent value TOZO HT2 active noise cancellation Bluetooth headphones.